Welcome to being at home with George. And the why of this series is to say yes to the possibility of both holding the hurt and generating the hope. And one of the things that I find very fascinating and interesting and also troubling is the amount of suffering that seems to be happening right now. And I see it as all coming down to this illusion of separateness or not knowing that self and other are connected. And so you can take it at any level with people deciding the glass is half empty or half full, and wanting to make each other wrong because of that. Or we get down to brass tacks in terms of people whether to wear a mask or not, or whether I have more rights than another person. And so when we get into a conflict, there's not this ability to have the mindset that reminds us of mutual respect, mutual benefit. That how can we come to a situation where we can keep the harmony, the peace, the ease, and of course there's going to be conflict, but how we approach that conflict is extremely important. And so when I look at the news and I look at all of the challenges that people have, one of the things that I see missing is the fact that we're relating to each other as things, not as a whole person. And anytime in my mind that when I think about myself, I think about myself as a whole person. I have a body, I have a mind, I have a heart, and I have a soul, a spirit. And that anytime I relate to myself and leave one of those dimensions of being out, and then I'm making myself a thing. And so when I'm interacting with other people, I see other whole people or other souls or spirits. And so when I relate to them in a way where I don't honor all four aspects of their being, I'm relating to them as a thing. So it could be really easy for me to say hurtful things or to do hurtful things to someone or to myself, even if I'm not seeing myself as a whole person and seeing myself not as a thing, but as a human being, honoring the respect, the self respect, and the self worth of myself. And that goes for other people. So if I relate to myself in a wholesome way, and then it would be easier for me to relate to others in a wholesome way. So I'm always looking at folks. So I may run into the postman or something, and we may exchange, and somehow I end up touching him or touching the mail or touching something that might be jeopardizing my safety, and I don't have to yell at myself and say that was dumb or stupid, or I don't have to make him wrong. All I have to do is just wash my hands or get some sanitizer and just manage it and keep moving. And the same thing could be, in the drugstore or in a grocery store or in a drugstore. You have to pick up meds or whatever, and sometimes you're engaging with people, and sometimes if for some reason somebody gets in your space or gets too close to you, you might. I will say, like, could you back up a little bit, please? Or, you're a little bit too close, or you don't have I don't say anything about a mask, but I have a mask on my face so that I don't, so I'm taking care of myself and others. But there's all of these things. It may be that it could be that we see things differently. Maybe we want to be able to go to movies versus not being able to go to the movies. And that means that for me, I love going to movies, but they're closed right now. So for me, if I look at it like, okay, it's going to keep everybody safe, including me, then it's easier for me to let go of that desire to want to be at the movies. Or, I love going to Maine, especially when I have time like this, go to the beach. Well, Maine is shut down. The hotels were shut down for a while, except for essential workers. So I have to deal with that. And so when I call the woman or call somebody who answers the phone, and they tell me, no, I'm sorry, you got to be a resident of Maine to be able to book a room. And also, we're only renting rooms to the essential workers. I could yell and scream, or I could just say, okay, thank you, and just recognize that all of these rules are in place because I know it's a burden for myself, or it's saying no to me on some level. But at the same time, I have to be willing to understand that the bigger picture is, okay, this is going to lead to safety, and I don't want to be responsible for transmitting some virus to someone or some family member. And even last week, I had to go went to my sister's house to help her set up her new TV, which I picked up for her. And it was interesting because after I did everything, I had my gloves on and my face mask on while I'm in her house. It was really strange to say goodbye and not be able to hug her, and me to say to her, well, I know hug, but let's wait because it's not time. So that was really challenging for me. It was challenging for her. And at the same time, I'm not the only one going through that. We're all going through that. And so how do we be? So it's more about being a certain way, being safe, being cautious. And am I going to make mistakes? Am I going to touch things that I shouldn't? Or maybe um, do something that I know better than doing? And I also have the option of saying, okay, I'm human, and how do I fix it? How do I change it? And there's very few things that cannot be resolved by just a little forgiveness and a little bit of learning, and just redoing it, or understanding. Okay, how did that happen? How do I make sure it doesn't happen again? So on an individual level, is for me seeing all the suffering and all the things going on. When you turn on a newspaper, what I see consistent is the idea that we're relating to each other as things, and we're not relating to each other as people. And if we do that, if we can see the whole person, even if they make a mistake or step on our toes, we can just say what we need to say in a way where we mean what we say without being mean when we say it, but we don't have to call the cops on them, or we don't have to call them names or make them wrong. It's just a matter of having a conversation. And even if it gets heated, even if it is pointed, at the end of the day, if we remember we're speaking to another human being, and we don't want people to speak to us that way. So it's like the golden rule, or treat people the way you want to be treated. And that means that maybe not identifying so much with a particular political party or particular religion or anything other than just being a human being, and that we are all connected and getting beyond this illusion of separateness. And it's interesting because we've done that. We've been doing it through this whole crisis. You can see people. You can see the healthcare workers, medical staff, and everybody stands up and cheers for them, claps for them. What would happen if we stood up and cheered for everyone and saying everybody's playing a part? But I know they're the ones that are putting their self on the line, as well as the people in the grocery stores that I go to, or I go to a Whole Foods or a CVS or whatever. Then when I go in there, I engage them and say, how are you doing? Good to see you. Staying safe, and that sort of thing. And it doesn't take much energy to do that. And when I do that, I feel better. They feel better. And there's a feeling of being connected, or being in this together, rather than me being in my own little world. So even though we are on the same stormy sea, we're in separate boats, but can we be in the separate boats in a way where we feel connected to the other separate boats that are riding the waves, or they're riding the storm? And so that's my message, is really to really think about it. And how do I do that? I do that by reflecting on the fact that, just like me, that other person wants to be happy. I don't think anybody makes a decision that's going to be harmful to themselves or others on purpose. Or we might get some displaced anger, and we may tweet something, or we may think about somebody in a way that's not skillful or not helpful. But at the end of the day, I don't think anybody is trying to hurt anyone or themselves. And so we need to reflect. At least that's what I do. I reflect on, okay, I'm going to the store now, and then I'm going to interact with the people at the register, and can I relate to them and see the whole person there, seeing the person is putting themselves on the line just to serve me. And the least I could do is wear a face mask and relate to them in a way that's respectful, where I have the mindset of mutual benefit, mutual respect. And I can just be there and just smile and say, how you doing? And thank you for your service, and keep moving. And so is that simple. And I interact with a lot of people. And when I go to the stores, when the grocery stores, they know me, and they're happy to see me, because all I do is give them love and blessings. I say, how you doing? Kind of day you having, appreciate your service, and I keep moving. Yes. So when I feel angry, when there's anger present, it's usually because uh, there's something that is happening that I don't agree with or that upsets me. And usually at the bottom, not that we have to get into it, but at the bottom of the anger, I'm afraid of something, or afraid of getting hurt, or afraid that something I want to happen is not going to happen. Who knows what it is? But the anger is also telling me that if I feel angry about the fact that, I'll just say, for instance, if my particular congressperson is not fighting for me to have, whether it's health care or me to get unemployment benefits from unemployed, or if I don't feel like they are representing me, or as I said before, I'm angry because I can't go to movies. I'm angry because I can't go to a restaurant. I'm angry because I can't hug my sister or whatever. That anger is just a feeling, and if I can just feel it in my body and just notice it as a sensation, because I'm reflecting on, okay, if I allow the anger to be there and then I just place that anger on the poor store clerk or whoever I'm talking to on the phone, or even, you know, my family or my household members, that it gets displaced onto them, or maybe I turn it in and it becomes depression. It's really about understanding, okay, the hurt. How do I hold the hurt, which in this case is anger, and not react to it, and still be hopeful? Say, okay, can I channel that anger to make something better? And so you might say, I have a friend of ours. She's made over 2,000 masks and given them away. Hasn't charged anybody. So that's a way to place our anger, not to displace my anger, but to channel, to marshal my anger in a way that helps me to make things better. To understand, how can I help, and maybe getting out of myself, how can I help someone else? And maybe it's just as simple as saying hello to someone and just smiling at them. And if you have the mask on, it's just maybe you give them the thumbs up, or you just say, hi, how are you doing? What kind of day are you having? And have a nice day and stay safe. So it's feeling it, it's the hold the hurt, feeling it with the sensation, and then the deciding, reflecting on, okay, so how do I respond to this anger in a way, if I can create space between stimulus and response, where I'm not reacting on it or not letting it grow, but allowing it to process through, or channeling it. But how do I take that energy and make a difference to make things better? Maybe I take that anger and I go and rake leaves, or I go cut the grass, or I do the dishes, or I call somebody and ask them how their day is, and give them blessings.